Hello. Good afternoon, guys. All right. As our usual protocol is, we have to invoke the presence of God. Let's just individually ask God to be in our midst and direct the affairs of this conference. Amen and amen. We have decided to, as a ministry, be very, very responsive to the press and the public. Whenever we go on official trips abroad, we have decided as a ministry to let you know what we brought back. This is accountability and transparency because we are using your taxpayers' money to go on official assignment. So we come back, it's our responsibility to report back to you. And few days ago, the Honorable Minister of Tourism and Cultural Affairs led a delegation to two countries, Zambia, where they attended the 67th meeting of the UN Tourism Regional Commission for Africa, and they moved on to Zimbabwe, where they attended the second regional conference on Brand Africa, and the second meeting, yes, on gastronomy in Africa. So they are back. They brought a lot of goodies for us. This is one of the most successful meetings we've ever had as a ministry when we go out. We've been having successful meetings, successful outings. But this one, the music is so sweet to my ear that I'm still dancing. So without wasting time, I want to present to you the Honorable Minister of Tourism and Cultural Affairs, who led the delegation and who is in charge of the ministry, to tell you the mission she went on and what she brought back. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Permanent Secretary. Let me join you to say a hearty welcome to everyone in the room, especially members of the Fourth Estate who have been a reliable and steady partner to the Ministry of Tourism and Cultural Affairs. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you to the staff of the Ministry of Tourism and Cultural Affairs. And I do see very active members and partners of the ministry, my dear brothers and sisters on my extreme right. Thank you very much for coming. As has been stated by the Permanent Secretary, the Ministry of Tourism and Cultural Affairs seeks to enhance its partnership with members of the press and members of the general public by updating all of us and all of you regularly on activities within the ministry. It's become a practice for us to inform members of the public on the outcome of our international trips, because it's also important for you to know what we have been doing and what we did out there, and to also get questions, advice, and engage with you as to what necessary steps we need to take to advance progress within the tourism and cultural landscape. So thank you very much again for coming. As has been stated by the Permanent Secretary, a team of 4 people left Freetown on the 19th of July for Zambia and Zimbabwe. And the team members should be here. I'm not sure. We have the general manager of the National Tourist Board and the communications expert, Mr. Kai Bokori Sakwi of the National Tourist Board as well. And the Ministry of Tourism and Cultural Affairs was represented by my humble self and the tourism specialist, Mr. Prince Gaima. I'm not sure if he's in the room. But there were 4 of us who attended the meetings in Zambia and Zimbabwe. In Zambia, it was to attend the 67th CAF meeting, and it was a regional meeting of all tourism ministers. We had about 30 tourism ministers and deputies represented at that meeting in Zambia. It was held at the Radisson Blu, and the general manager will also inform you about the meeting that they held at the technical level. But the ministerial meeting, it was an opportunity for us to speak about, our tourism brand in Africa as tourism ministers within the continent, it was an opportunity for us to rekindle and reaffirm our commitment to the tourism agenda of Africa. We spoke about, the need to enhance movement and to also improve on connectivity. And Sierra Leone also was quite active in the discussions where we put forward some of the reforms that government is undertaking. And those reforms were not included discussions regarding, our visa policy, what we have done regarding having a very great system which allows people to visit Sierra Leone, the visa on arrival, which has been, in operation for the past, I think about a year, 2 years or so, about 2 years. We spoke about that, and then we spoke about further discussions to enhance, movement within the African continent, and those discussions are almost at a very advanced stage. We're expecting in the next couple of months that we may have some consideration regarding, visa entry protocols. We also spoke about enhancing connectivity within Africa because that's been a problem. Most of us who participated at the meeting, it took us about 2 days to get there. So that was further enforced during the meeting. And with the Ministry of Transport and Aviation, advanced efforts are being made to improve on connectivity within Africa. We also put forward the reforms that we have been making within Sierra Leone. We informed them about the 10-year tourism strategic plan and our preparedness and readiness to also compete for MICE tourism, which is meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions. And we were really received, very well by the UN Tourism Group and the Secretary General himself. The discussions also included several layers as to how Africa as a continent should brand tourism itself. And we discussed quite a few initiatives that we should also take within Sierra Leone as well. And we informed them about, aside from the reforms that are taking place, we also had an opportunity to let them know how well we are opening up the space through the Tourism for All campaign, which has been quite effective in giving some amount of unaided awareness about tourism and how citizens themselves should preserve and protect our tourism offerings and our products. So that was essentially what we did in Zambia. But interestingly, it also gave us an opportunity to further strengthen our relationship with UN tourism. Sierra Leone was seen as a very prominent country. Our participation within UN tourism has really improved a notch for the past year. We are currently, and thanks to the Ministry of Finance for making that possible, we were even admitted as a full member. And there are a couple of other protocols that we need to activate for us to continue the relationship with UN tourism as it has been established. But quite frankly, it was a really good opportunity, and Sierra Leone we've been able to raise the country's profile as well as raising what we're doing within the tourism landscape in Zambia. We also had a few bilateral meetings. We had bilateral meetings with the Zambian minister, and some of the discussions we had was how can we bring together, our comparative advantage in tourism. Because what was really important to us in the Branding Africa process is that Africans need to collaborate because each and every country has its own unique tourism products and offerings. And it's not in the discussion for us to compete against each other, but to see how we can complement each other's tourism sector. And so those discussions were taken at a bilateral level. We had meetings with the UN Tourism Regional Director for Africa, and some of the discussions we had, was to see how UN tourism can engage better with, Sierra Leone as a tourist destination and as also a country that can accommodate, MICE tourism, how they can engage with us better to start to compete for some of these opportunities that exist out there. And so UN Tourism has started the discussions with us. We even have discussed about mentoring, about education. We spoke about also some sort of advocacy within the tourism space that we have in terms of protection, in terms of preservation, and in terms of conservation. So those discussions were held with UN Tourism, and they have expressed a very strong commitment to hold a few conferences in Sierra Leone in the near future. We also had discussions with the Zambian Minister of Tourism, and we're exploring the possibility of having joint meetings, as
Yes.
well as having exchange programs. We discussed extensively, again, looking at the comparative advantage. And although we are also aware of the connectivity problems and connectivity issues, but we have started the discussions as to how we can invite Zambian tourists here, and also Sierra Leoneans can go to Zambia as well, because our seasons complement each other. When it's the rainy season in Zambia, it's our tourist season here, and they're more than happy for us to continue the discussion. So our tour operators will be in touch with their tour operators to develop packages. So that's one concrete outcome of the meeting with the Minister of Tourism of Zambia. We also had discussions with the Ministry of Tourism of Congo. We have been also invited to a cultural event next year. We're also looking at what sorts of cultural strands and cultural fusion we can have within our country as well as the DRC. And we're also expecting both ministers here before the end of the year, because we're also hosting a conference. We also had the meeting with the general manager will also have an opportunity to elaborate further on the meeting that we held with the regional director for Africa. Our discussions also include several layers of cooperation with the UN Secretary General, UN Tourism Secretary General. We had several layers of discussions, which has also opened up other opportunities for us, South-South cooperation opportunities, not only with Africa, but also with Sierra Leone. And we'll disclose the details as soon as they are made available. We're still in the formative aspect of it, so I cannot disclose that particular aspect of the discussion to you. But again, it's also a very promising strand that we've taken on during the meeting in Zimbabwe. We also had an opportunity to witness the Zambia, the UN Tourism. Again, I must say, they are supporting member states to implement what we would call as landmark programs. Currently, Zambia commissioned their School of Hospitality in Zambia. That's for the entire African continent, and it will be supported by UN Tourism and the private sector. So off to Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe, we had the first gastronomy regional meeting, which was also shepherded by the UN Tourism. And we had an opportunity to see the exhibitions, food exhibitions by several other countries who were fortunate to have qualified for that. But what is interesting and what would really, be of interest to all of us here is the fact that Sierra Leone put in a proposal to host the third regional UN Tourism Gastronomy Forum in Africa here in Sierra Leone. So in 2026, Sierra Leone is honored and has received the approval to host the third United Nations Tourism Gastronomy Forum here. That for us is huge because one thing that we did also advocate very actively and passionately during our discussions is that Sierra Leone is known for its food and its fashion. And that was definitely exhibited very well, during our meetings. And based on the proposal that we put forward, a very compelling and convincing proposal, UN Tourism has accepted, this proposal to host the meeting. And you all know that our primary objective as a Ministry of Tourism and Cultural Affairs is not just to only protect and preserve our touristic products and offerings, but it's also to increase arrivals. And that single conference itself in 2026 would, increase arrivals substantially, aside from the other meetings that we're expecting to hold. The second thing we also had, during important, announcement that needs to be made here as well is that we have what is termed as the Women in Tourism Leadership African Committee. It's for short, it's WITLAC, and it's a committee of women leaders in Africa that are operating within the tourism and culture landscape. And this committee was formed based on the request from African female ministers operating within, the tourism landscape. A couple of years ago, it was launched in Ghana, and Sierra Leone was given the opportunity to chair, and we're still holding the chairperson position. And during a brainstorming meeting that we had with, I think we had about 8 ministers, female ministers from Africa there, we agreed to also host a WITLAC conference here in Sierra Leone from the 29th to the 31st of October this year. So in October this year, we will be receiving ministers of tourism across Africa. We'll also be receiving experts and leaders in the tourism sector in Sierra Leone for 3 days to brainstorm and further shape the objectives of this WITLAC committee. And the objectives will eventually be put forward at a continental level so that we would have some amount of concrete action to address the 67% or more women who are employed within the tourism landscape. So this is the second highlight of the meeting. As we stated earlier, the agreement with UN Tourism on strategic support to tourism development in Sierra Leone has also been outlined, and it's not limited to education, capacity building, and also hosting of conferences. We also had a few side meetings with the Director General of Basque Culinary Center, and those discussions are also in the formative stage, but again, it also promises of an active partnership. We had several layers of discussions, and linked to that, we had discussions as well with our chef, Chef Fatmata Binta. She's the UN Tourism Brand Ambassador. She's a Sierra Leonean who resides in Ghana, and she's also actively engaged in the gastronomy space, and she's also very willing, to support Sierra Leone's gastronomy culture and our gastronomy objective within the tourism and cultural space. So that, in a nutshell, is what happened, what transpired in Zimbabwe. Again, we had an opportunity to interact extensively with the First Lady of Zimbabwe. She has also further invited us to meetings based on our performance, in meetings and our active engagement. She has also extended an invitation to our First Lady here, and she's extended an invitation to us, which also promises of greater cooperation with a country like Zimbabwe in the tourism landscape. We also had discussions again with another First Lady from Angola, also promising of opportunities within the tourism landscape. So in a nutshell, again, we had concrete outcomes of the meeting. I feel it was a huge opportunity for us to continue to expand, what we've been doing here. We had an opportunity to share with them the novelty of the Tourism for All campaign, a year-long campaign which seeks to raise the awareness of Sierra Leoneans. And we've also had discussions as to how that model can also be transported to other countries that are struggling. So in my discussions with Mozambique and DR Congo specifically, we're also at more or less the same. I think we're a bit ahead of them, but we also had these discussions as how, these brainstorming sessions could bring together ideas and also, lessons learned and best practices. So Sierra Leone, quite frankly, despite being a small country, but very well known for its natural beauty and fantastic people, that was further emphasized in the meetings we held in Zimbabwe and Zambia. And I think we all should be proud of ourselves as a country. I think, we need to be more appreciative of each other, because whenever we go out there to represent all of you, people only see the beauty of the country and they don't see anything else. So I'm using this opportunity to thank all of you who have been promoting tourism and culture actively as, a journalist, as bloggers. Most of you have been doing it, without any recourse or any support from the ministry. And for me, that is what is important. Sharing the news out there, getting us to understand the value we have as Sierra Leoneans and who we are. And I'm kindly asking all of us to continue along that trajectory because it is yielding results. There's a lot of work that we need to do to enter into the international space, a whole lot of work. But again, it would be easier if we find time to post positive stories about Sierra Leone, post positive stories about ourselves, because that is who we are and that is what we stand for. So thank you very much for listening to me. I have missed a few things, but deliberately, because the general manager of the National Tourist Board is here. She was also part of the discussions. We also have the communications expert who was also quite regularly informing, members of the public on our activities out there, and I have to thank him for that. And we also have the tourism specialist who's attached to the Sierra Leone Economic Diversification Project, who apparently isn't here, but he was also helping with most of the technical work, as well as the general manager. So thank you very much. And after the general manager, I believe we'll be ready to ask the questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I'm tempted to say tourism business.
No, all man business.
It is all man's business.
Minister Brett. And now I'll turn the mic over to the general manager of the National Tourism Board, Tourist Board, the marketing arm of the ministry, Madam Fatmata Majid Q.
Thank you, PS. I've learned a lesson that we shouldn't be putting our bags on the ground, on the floor. So I'm not doing it again. Thank you, PS and Chairman. With the permission of the Honorable Minister, I also want to stand on existing protocol to welcome you all to this press meeting. The Honorable Minister of Tourism has been able to really provide a detailed summary outline of what went down in Zambia and Zimbabwe. I would say for me, this conference is one of its kind because it's positioned Sierra Leone in the front light, positioned Sierra Leone in the limelight. All of the technical panel discussion, our Minister of Tourism was featured, in which she actually tried to explain how Sierra Leone has in the past 5 years focused on tourism. The focus has been on tourism and how gastronomy has been mainstream in Sierra Leone, even under the government's prioritized agenda, which is Feed Sierra Leone. And she was able to bring that out very clearly. And also, she was also able, as she said, held various bilateral meetings, which were very fruitful. Some of the things that came out of it, I know in due course, she will also call for a press conference to outline and bring them to the notice of the general public. We also held, as the technical meeting also, we had a brain session on Brand Africa. Just like the minister was saying, and I will also emphasize that one of the, what the meeting was trying to really bring out was the fact that we have a global tourism market up to the tune of $20 trillion. And that is where tourism stands at it is. Where does Africa stand in all of this? What is coming to Africa? And so Brand Africa the focus was that we should see the continent as complementing each other, just as the minister said, rather than competing. What we try to drive is that no two countries are the same. Each country has their own uniqueness as far as tourism is concerned. You cannot have everything. The south and the eastern zone of Africa, of the continent, they are known for wildlife safaris. But when we talk about fashion, when we talk about rich culture, you know, you look at other side of Africa where we have Sierra Leone and the rest of West Africa as well. So what we were trying to look at, that we tried to bring out what are some of the challenges we have been facing as a continent, and how can we address some of those challenges so that we talk about Africa as one. We brand Africa. We don't want Africa to be seen as that Africa country that is divided, that there is no security, that there are diseases. No, that is not what we want. We want to see Africa as the rich diversity that we have in terms of our culture, in terms of the unique product that God has endowed to us as Africans. And that was one of the key aspects of the rebranding. We looked at, as I think the minister has also mentioned, that we look about the shortage of skills in the tourism workforce. It cuts across Africa. I sat there in the room and listened to the testimony of even other destinations, which I thought these were the big guns as far as tourism is concerned. Them also giving out the challenges that they are facing in terms of workforce. We also talked about the limited awareness of the African experience. We need to find a way how to bring that out in a very positive way. If we're talking about brand Africa, that is because other countries are also suffering the same. And now it's about time that individual countries work together in changing the perception and bringing Africa out as a very unique and diverse tourism destinations where people can get the best experience the world can offer. So we discuss about that. We also discuss about the complexity in terms of the visa regime. We are not the only one. I think we've gone far ahead in trying to do the visa no arrival, the e-visa, but some countries, they are nowhere. And so we think that if we want to promote Africa, Africa needs to promote each other. The tourism travel has to start between Africans to Africa. It's about time we stop looking at the Americas, at the UK or the Europe as the places to go. We need to travel within Africa. But for us to be able to do that, we need to address the complex visa regime, the lack of reliable tourism data. That also needs to be discussed. Maybe if people understand, our individual government understand what the tourism sector can bring in terms of economy, the funds that we can generate through tourism, it will help our leaders to give a different mindset in terms of tourism when we are dealing with our national development plan and anything that we want to do, okay, in the future. We need those data. We need to know what is Africa generating, what is, as far as tourism is concerned. We need to have all of this data, and then that will help us in making informed decision. What about in terms of challenges, in terms of security condition? And the security for me is not just about the wars or coup d'etat. For us, we are also even in terms of the visa issue as well, because some of the reason why we have the stringent visas regime in some of this country has to do with security issues. All of these were some of the challenges that were discussed at that meeting, and us finding a way to how to address these challenges. So one of the things that we actually decided on was, first and foremost, we need to come back to our country. We need to come to our country. We need to have certain things change in terms of tourism, in terms of our policies, in terms of infrastructural development. Government needs to pour more money into tourism. In terms of skills development, governments need to pour more money into skills development as far as tourism is concerned. And then we need also to create a positive image of our destinations. We need to create positive image. Even Europe, with all their negativity that is going on, they find a way to project their countries, their continent in a very positive light. So we agree that the work starts with our individual country, with member states. We need to start the work within our country, and then that can accelerate to the continent as a whole. That was also discussed. And I must say that our ministers were very, very much committed in trying to ensure that all what was discussed, some of this outcome are domesticated in their respective countries. And that is where our minister comes in. During the meeting, she did say, during the meeting that we had with the regional director, okay, of the UN tourism, that whatever that we need to do in terms of policy, in terms of laws that will stimulate Sierra Leone to be able to project not only Sierra Leone but Africa in the light that it's supposed to be. She's ready to ensure that we have that done in Sierra Leone. She's made a commitment, and it's I would say it's a policy statement, and we need to work on that as to ensure that Sierra Leone is brought to the positive light. And of course, during that meeting, with the regional meeting, they've asked us to share our currently launched strategic plan, and they want to have a look at it and see how best to look at the priority areas to see how best we can work together to support Sierra Leone to the next level. And that was also discussed at that meeting. And I think another thing that was also discussed was the fact that some of the activities that we are planning as the local activity, like the Tourism from All campaign, this is one activity that they think that we should really escalate to a point that if we have our domestic tourism, we have the domestic message of tourism everywhere in Sierra Leone, that will go a long way in projecting Sierra Leone in a very positive light as far as domestic tourism is concerned, and it also will subsequently affect our international status as a tourism destination. And that is why she was emphasizing that this regional meeting, because one of our domestic activities is to have the women in tourism for the month of October. So we need to escalate that activity in such a way that we bring other regional ministers, other regional countries, so that to project Sierra Leone into a positive light. Let me say to you, when you have these meetings, you have other African countries coming to your destination. It opens your destination. It opens it up. It creates a positive light to the outside world. And so we really need to put our act together to support the ministry and the agency through our reporting, to what we say out there. We know we have our internal problem, but please let us manage our internal problem in-house, because other countries are doing the same. And this was all what the Brand Africa was all about. Don't air your dirty linens in public. Try to manage it within your country. We're not saying lie. That's not what we're saying, but we're saying let us package, let us manage our information in such a way that it will promote not only Sierra Leone, but Africa as a continent. And going forward, all African countries should be promoting the brand Africa. Africa as a beautiful continent. Africa as a unique and diverse tourist destination that has so much to offer. So those was one of the things that we spoke about. And of course, as you know, Sierra Leone, the minister is the chair for the women in minister. It has been called the Congress now.
Yes, Women in Tourism Leadership African Congress.
Congress, okay. So the minister is the chair, and you know, when I looked at the minister actually articulating and taking control over that meeting, I know that this is a new era for Sierra Leone. I know that this is a new era for Sierra Leone. You know why? Because we were sitting in a room with other big tourism destinations who, I believe, Madam Minister, in that room, they thought, why should Sierra Leone be in this position? Why should Sierra Leone take a lead? Where are they in terms of tourism? I felt it. I felt the energy. I was like, I felt the energy. I didn't know what to do. I sent a message to my minister. I said, Minister, what is this? What is going on? You know, but at the end of the day, she stood her ground and she was able to articulate and took control of the meeting. And that is it. Our actions, the way we do things, it goes a long way in selling the destination. And it goes a long way to know that we are ready. And this is why, Madam Minister, when we had a meeting with the regional director, and they said that they think that Sierra Leone is ready. And we are ready. We know we are ready, and let's just put our acts together. And I think we also, of course, we had a meeting with the ministers say, with the minister of Zambia. And of course, there's going to be an MOU between Sierra Leone and Zambia. And I think in due course, the minister will actually say the integrities of what the collaboration will be between Sierra Leone and Zambia. And we look forward to the 2026 gastronomy for Africa, which is being held in Sierra Leone. We want people, gentlemen, we really want you to see this as a big news for Sierra Leone. This is big. We are bringing the whole of Africa into Sierra Leone. Do you know what that means for tourism? Do you know what that means for the economy? It means a whole lot for Sierra Leone. And that is because of the dynamic and the relentless effort of the ministry in the leadership of the Honorable Minister in trying to project Sierra Leone in a very positive light. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted to add to that. We're also, some of the discussions would involve us having investment guidelines.
Yes.
And we're also expecting a high-profile visit from UN Tourism, probably the Secretary General himself, next year. And this, us securing, the approval to host the 3rd Regional Gastronomy Forum does not prevent us from also hosting other meetings here in Sierra Leone. And the discussions are also at an advanced stage to test our capacity. We were even offered to host one in September, but we thought it was too early because we didn't have all, the arrangements in place. So we have asked that it is deferred. We are given another opportunity to host another conference. But the most important thing, again, is the creation of jobs. In the tourism and cultural landscape, we have loads of jobs because people have their God-given talent and they're only waiting for it to be harnessed and brought up to a productive level. And all of these engagements certainly gives us a leeway into harnessing the productive talents that people have in Sierra Leone. So we're expecting, if we continue along this trajectory, we will certainly contribute extensively to the job portfolio of Sierra Leone, the 500,000 jobs. Tourism in the current national plan is an enabler, and we are quite sure that in terms of even revenue generation, we will get to some sort of appreciable percentage increase, in terms of us, contributing to revenue generation. So it's really important also for women in Sierra Leone as well. 67% of the workforce within the tourism and cultural landscape are women. And the WITLAC platform also seeks to bring back that dignity. So things like equal pay, things like safety and security, and other issues and other challenges that are being faced by women, not only in Sierra Leone, but in Africa, will also be addressed by this committee's objectives and activities. And there would be mentorship, cross mentorship from other countries coming here to mentor our young people. It gives an opportunity as well for those young people who are out there. And we always say tourism is everybody's business. Tourism is all man business. Indeed, it is your business to know about, but you can also create a livelihood, a business out of tourism itself. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister and GM. A lot of goodies, a lot of stories. If I were you, on the days when I was a reporter, I have over 10 stories from this report.
Panel discussion.
So,
I forgot panel
listeners,
discussion.
ladies and gentlemen,
There's too many things there.
the mic is down to you now. Time to ask questions. The rules, put your hands up, call your name and your media house, they ask a question. Please avoid preambles because we have other people who might want to ask questions. Who's going to do the first shot?
Yes, I think I want to go first. Okay. I mean, Kevin, 98.1. This goes to the Minister of Tourism and Culture. Question is, the tourism is seen as a pivotal lead in the economic diversification drive. How will these meetings facilitate that to diversify the economy?
Good. Next one. We'll take three, the minister will answer.
John Sahr, AYP. The minister also mentioned about creating jobs, of course, for the youth, in terms of meeting jobs, more community. So we also want to know how these facilitating that area of creating a job. Of course, the job is one of the areas of the fight to provide jobs for the youth. So we want to know the area of the tourism sector in given that's for your ability to solve this. Okay.
Thank you. One more. A lady now, please.
Good afternoon.
Yes.
So my question is, we know climate change is a serious concern as of now, and when we talk about tourism, if climate change is not addressed, it actually affects our tourism aspect. So how prepared is the Ministry of Tourism in ensuring that climate change is helped or controlled so as it will boost the tourism sector?
All right, thank you very much. Honorable Minister.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. I'll start with the first question from Mohammed. I think Mohammed Lamin from 98.1. And he spoke about how the meetings will facilitate economic diversification. I'm sure you're quite aware that these meetings are the basis upon which partnerships are formed. And as I've stated already, if we're expecting visitors here, if we're hosting conferences, you know that certainly it would bring about resources into Sierra Leone. It will not only raise our profile and allow additional guests to come into Sierra Leone, but again, it would certainly bring resources because we have people coming in to our country. They will certainly purchase, they will rent hotels, they would have, there's several things that they would do in country that would contribute to economic to the economic diversification drive of this country, which is also revenue generation. Do know that tourism is one of those key growth sectors, and having meetings of this nature and conferences would certainly increase. You know that we're also looking at increasing arrivals as well. That would also add to our statistical data and put us at a level which would also give us global consideration and global recognition. You also, I think John also from AYV spoke about jobs, about youths and job creation. It's one of the tasks that have been given to us in the medium-term national development plan, and we also have a strategic plan which also hives out certain areas. What we have been doing for the past couple of months, even with the Tourism for All campaign, we have also, I'm sure we don't have the data right now, because that's one aspect that we're working on very strongly. It was also mentioned at the CAF meetings in Zimbabwe and Zambia, and it's something that we're also actively working on. The Tourist Board has been mandated to provide baseline data so we can measure, where we are. But as it is right now, the hospitality industry has provided jobs. We've got more hotels opening up. We've had several, training sessions, outside the ministry training sessions. We've created, jobs for young people by also not just the mentorship, but giving opportunities to them as well. The engagement with UN Tourism is also going to create jobs because we have certain facilities that would also be established here. So there's a whole heap of opportunities for skilled labor within the tourism landscape, and that has also been realized. Pretty soon we're going to come up with the data so it's very clear for you to see where we were and where we are right now. I think Hawa also spoke about climate change. Climate change is quite integral, within the tourism work that we do. Last month was our environmental awareness for ecotourism, and it was a month where we used to promote extensively the dangers of climate change. We're working with conservation entities such as EFA and Takugama, to promote responsible use of our forest, especially the national parks. We're working very closely with the Ministry of Environment and other government entities to support activities and actions by these entities to further engage and get people prepared and understand the dangers of climate change and what needs to be done as a responsible citizen to curb these problems. Because if we lose these areas are tourism development areas, and these are some of our tourism products that we have. So we're actively involved in that during this month, which is has started today, which is our Partner and Promote Month. We just had discussions with WFP to see how we can engage communities further in the provinces for them to understand, the current challenges we're having with climate change and what citizens need to do to also responsibly manage their environment and preserve the environment. Thank you.
Thank you
If
very
you have
much,
anything to add.
Honourable Minister. Yes, sir.
Hello everyone. My name is Sahr. I am the executive chef at King's Bakery and also the coordinator for Chef Mentors Africa. I was recently selected to represent Sierra Leone. And I'm also part of the Sierra Leone Association of Professional Chefs, and I'm happy to be here. But one thing I want to ask is, on the global platform, or let's say Africa, even let's start with maybe West Africa, we've been so underrepresented in the gastro world, as in presenting our culture. We even missed on the Warfest 2024 in Togo. Only one Sierra Leone went, and that was so disheartening. I felt really weird about that because I own one of the finest schools in Sierra Leone for teaching, and I've also, taught a lot of people, over 500, and we have people who are willing to come from the Gambia and other places to come and learn here. They always talk about cassava leaf and all that. They want to come and be part of, that. But if we're so underrepresented, we're not much represented out there. How can we sell our tourism? How can we sell everything out there to the world that we've been missing on these stages? So I just want to ask Madam Minister, how can you maybe address that issue? Because we even have an event in Nigeria. We've been invited to attend there and to showcase our talent and our food, our culture, on this African Mentors platform. It's a platform where here about, please stand. These are young chefs. These are young chefs. And we are good at cooking, one of the best from Sierra Leone, and we're happy about that. So we're so happy to be part of this, and we've seen what you've been doing. The event at Edison Blue was so spectacular. We've never seen that before, ever in the history of Sierra Leone. And I want to commend you for that. We really appreciate you. Thank you for your good. I really appreciate you. There's no way the tourism industry can thrive without chefs. There's no way that can happen. So the gastro blends culture and food. That is amazing. And trust me, we have the best jollof. Don't see Nigeria and Ghana.
And they not get jollof.
So by the power of God on the 28th of September, God willing, will represent Sierra Leone.
Okay.
We will come by the grace of God.
By the grace
Because
of
amongst all the countries in Africa, 22 so far were selected.
Yeah.
So I just want to say we're here, but we want to know how can we change that narrative, to see
answer
that
this
we
one.
can represent
I need to answer
in
before the
that
questions
world.
come. Okay.
We've been missing a lot, so
Okay.
I just want to ask you that question. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you too.
Thank you very much. I just asked permission, the permanent secretary, he's chairing this, so I just asked his permission to respond because there's a lot of you all stood up, and I feel we need to respond to your questions. As you stated, thank you so much for the submission. As you stated earlier, I don't know whether it was, a coincidence, but the first activity we had for the Tourism for All campaign on the 11th of
Yeah.
January was the food festival. And it was there just to explore our culinary prowess as Sierra Leoneans, because we also have so many local people who are in that field. And it aims at bringing some amount of professionalism. So apart from cooking, how could you make sure that your food is organic? How could we bring it from the farm to the table into the tummy? How could we make sure that the presentation is good? And that was just the test case. We're also looking at nutritional value of food. If you have like 10 ounces of cassava leaves and rice, what is the nutritional value of that cassava leaves? And those are the discussions we had in Zimbabwe with the Basque Culinary Center. How could we basically bring that amount of professionalism for our young people here so that they can compete internationally at that level? Because I mentioned, I'm sorry I didn't mention your group, but I mentioned the Chef Association.
Yeah.
I mentioned Watalo Titi. There's another lady, something Senesi. I mentioned a few people who have been actively promoting their trade on social media, which we have been following as well. So for us, it's really important. We've been supporting the Chef Association. And if we have any means to support you to compete in these competitions, we will certainly do that. Interestingly, in Zimbabwe, we found out that most of the nationals who exhibited there were actually people living in the country. We couldn't find any Sierra Leonean in Victoria Falls where we were. I'm sure there's some in Harare and other parts of Zimbabwe, but we couldn't find them at all. But one thing that we did state is based on the digital marketing report, which shows that people are interested in Sierra Leone's food and fashion. We had a fam trip here earlier, I think in March or February this year. What they were all going crazy about was the groundnut soup and our other delectable cuisines. We went to Germany in March, and you'd see all the Europeans running after cassava leaves. Some of them were even eating cassava leaves and our jollof rice. So they've added a certain blend to it. And going further in professionalism, we've also started discussions with our colleagues to see how some of these dishes can be registered as traditional Sierra Leonean. So we're happy to continue the conversation with you. We all understand that funding is quite scarce, but again, these meetings open up avenues of funding sources for our people here, and it will give you an opportunity to compete internationally. I'm not sure. We spoke about, I think, the unrepresentation. I think if my memory serves me right, we have been competing in the Y Fest, I think. The Wat Fest. We've been competing. And every time Sierra Leone competes on that stage, that regional, sub-regional stage, we come back with medals. Whether it's for our jollof rice, whether it's for our drinks, whether it's for the cakes and stuff like that, we have been winning accolades. And I even spoke to them that we're going to establish little kitchens. We have partnerships within the tourism landscape through the hotels and other private sector practitioners. How are we going to open up spaces within our districts so that our local people could come in and practice and perfect what they do, what they know how to do very well? Everywhere in Sierra Leone, anywhere you go, you taste a dish that's been even prepared by someone in the village. It has a different taste. It's extremely tasty and also very, very healthy. And this is something I think we can explore. So let's not just use cooking as a hobby, but let's use it to also generate resources. And our presentation, also getting people in handicrafts to partner with us. So we have wooden spoons, we have these calabash containers that are handmade and original Sierra Leonean. And that's what the gastronomy forum is seeking, to achieve. So you have tables with our gara or maybe our contricor, and then you have, the cutlery and stuff like that made out of typically homegrown Sierra Leone wood or whatever material we feel is necessary. But consider us as a partner, and we will continue to give the support so that we perfect and improve on this gastronomy culture, which seems to be naturally evolving in Sierra Leone. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
My name is Jaffa Manstelis from Creative Democracy. When the manager for National Tourism Board was speaking, she was saying that there were a lot of demands on the Tourism for All campaign, on local events and things like that. on how you should revamp and enhance these initiatives. My question is, how far have we gone in these demands that the international people made to us? And so, my next question, the minister mentioned January 11 or so
I think I understand.
for the food fest.
Yeah.
When I did an interview with the Chef Association, he was telling me that there was a need for a continuous exhibition of that event. And also the minister at some point made some reference on that. But in April, when it was, there was another date suggested for that thing. We didn't see anything.
Okay.
But my question now is, what's the plan to ensure that the ministry, as part of their mandate to educate the public or show them most of these cuisines that many people don't know, that the food festival continues in the country and that it goes provincial as well?
All right.
Thank you.
Next question. If not, okay. Minister, you can answer
The food
the
thing?
food festival.
Yes.
How
And
often are
I've-
we going to have it?
Yes, and how far have we gone to promote local events, local tourism?
Thank you very much. If we got your question correctly, what was directed, to the minister, me, you spoke about the food festival and the expected activities or several other food festival. The first food festival was basically funded by the ministry out of pocket, and we got the venue for free, and that's how we've been operating. It's a model maybe that other people would want to also learn from. We got the venue from Radisson Blu free of charge. They're also our client, and we put together some money so that the Chef Association could host, the food festival. And we were expecting that the private sector, because they did come up with a date. The first date was the 12th of April, if my memory serves me
Yes.
right. The private sector was expected to take over this activity, because what we've realized in several other countries, the private sector is a very active partner of the Ministry of Tourism and Cultural Affairs. In most exhibitions, the private sector supports the attendance or the participation of the ministry. But here, it is quite different. You may know that tourism was only recently brought to the fore again in 2018, and then we had a brief lull during the COVID incident, and then, everything kind of collapsed. Now, the Tourism for All campaign also seeks to bring in a tourism-centric approach to our businesses and our approach. You will find out that now more than ever, more hotels are promoting packages, reduced packages. Restaurants are also promoting, reduced packages. We're having free concerts everywhere, which was not a norm before. People would always peg a price to everything that we're doing. But because we want others to understand that tourism is everyone's business, and we're trying to inculcate a culture of having a tourism-centric approach to everything, that is why we've come up with specific activities for the private sector to take over. Unfortunately, with this food festival, which we started off, the private sector couldn't have it on the 12th of April as was expected, but I understand that they're waiting for the rainy season. As soon as the rainy season ends, hopefully in September or early October, they're going to have another food festival. So we would, expect to hear from them on that. In terms of promoting our food culture, we have young people, vibrant Sierra Leoneans, who are using social media platforms to showcase what they're doing, what they're developing, and how they're presenting it. And that also has, sparked a lot of interest globally and internationally. Those who are coming in have also helped to sell. What we do when we go out into these trade events and other meetings and other, activities, we also showcase our food culture. We're also using the Photographers Union. They have a meeting, I think, in about 2 weeks. They have a meeting. Right, they have a meeting in about 2 weeks, and we've had initial discussions as to how we can use photography to also promote the culture, our food culture in Sierra Leone. But what I want to emphasize here is that tourism is a sector that almost is very diverse and it relates to everything. So everyone has a role to play. So we would be more than happy if you use your platform to continue to showcase and promote, the food culture of Sierra Leone, which has been, it's taken some amount of prominence, in the international and the global stage. Thank you.
Thank you.
Last set of questions, please. You wanna get a second? But let's get somebody new now.
Mine is not actually a question.
It's a commendation.
I just want to commend.
Thank you very much.
On job well done. And I want to tell you that you are getting very good publicity on the traditional social media. It's very good. Then for your trip, you also retrieve 3 keywords here that you raise the profile of Sierra Leone during the visit to 2 countries. You also position Sierra Leone at the front line, and that there is a new era in the tourism sector of Sierra Leone. I want to thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Sir.
very much. Thank you.
Yes.
So you made emphasis on we have a limited awareness of Africa's existence, and you said we should package the country, making emphasis on we should package it. So tell us how, in what way? Because before now we know Sierra Leone has been known for blood diamonds, but now we are changing the narrative when we do this tourism for all campaign. Because a lot of people can boast of knowing things through this tourism for all campaign. So let us know what's new. How would we change and do the changes as we made in packaging the country? And Madam Minister, this visa policy reforms, you said you spoke about that. So let us know what specific changes are being considered for the visa policy and the impact it will make in the country.
Okay. Thank you. Do you want me? Let me
Yes,
quickly
Minister,
respond.
talk.
Okay, one more.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Firstly, I want to commend your efforts. But also, we know the media also play an integral part in pushing this whole events, or if I can say, the tourism sector. So I just want to know how you continue to engage and create partnership. Because we have the media landscape is so right now.
Yeah.
We have the traditional media, we have the social media. So how are you going to continue to establish partnership?
Okay.
Promoting this.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Let me start with your own. Let me start by answering your question. Thank you. We've created partnerships with some media houses already, and so we're open. The ministry, we have an open door policy. You're free to come here anytime, and though we are constrained, as everyone is, but we will find ways we can, support where support is needed. But we're more than happy to open up our partnership base. And please do not hesitate to reach out to us, because we cannot do tourism if you're not with us. It's not possible. You are the vehicle that takes the tourism to the people. And that's why we need you every time. That's why we've even started, I think we started this in January this year, to engage with members of the press whenever we come back from an international trip. So it's very important. Please reach out to the permanent secretary immediately after this meeting so we can establish a formal partnership. But we do have existing partnerships with several other media houses, and we want to expand that further. Regarding the visa policy reforms you spoke about and the impact, already we have an e-visa, visa on arrival. We're working on an e-visa policy as well. We're also working on completely removing visa entry protocols for all African people with an African passport holders. The reason is, you may know that we have Ethiopian Airlines. Yeah? They've started flying to Sierra Leone, and they have over 60 or more connections. And for us to also encourage Africa to have that integration that we're seeking, we also need to make sure that we reduce all the barriers as best as possible. So we're currently in discussions with the CIO and other relevant MDAs
to scrutinize what it would mean for us as a country to follow the footsteps of countries like Kenya, I think,
Is it Uganda? Is it? There are a couple of-
Uganda,
Kenya, and
Ghana,
Ghana, a couple of other countries
one,
that have completely
Gambia
waived.
as well.
I think it is the vote now, and it will also enhance movement. You know what happens when movement is enhanced? It makes it a lot easier. We're looking forward to receiving more African airlines. So as long as you have airlines, as long as you have tourism products and offerings, people will certainly come to visit. We're looking forward to receiving a lot of people from North Africa. I believe the statistics we have right now, the third highest percentage of tourists are from Africa, is it? Are from Africa. I think that's after Europe and America.
After America, Europe.
After America, Europe, and then the third is Africa. So now with Ethiopian
Airlines, we see a very unique
opportunity. So we need to keep the numbers up.
we need to make sure the numbers are flowing, they're moving back and forth.
And so these are things that we will do. There are other incentives that are also in the
Pipeline.
and those will be announced as and when necessary.
Thank you.
Okay, I thought the minister was going to carry on with the package. So, my lady, what I would say to you is that how can we package? We say manage in promoting Sierra Leone. Remember, what do you do? Okay, so now you're here. We had this press conference. This is to tell you what the ministry and its agency are doing. So how you package this information, okay, and spread it out goes a long way in creating a positive image about the destination. There are a lot of opportunities. We have had, when the minister was talking about the January, we did not only do the food festival, we also do the discovery. We did several tours, which we had the media with us. Sometimes you go to those places, you go to our website, you look at the stories and try to send it on in your platform, spread it out. Okay, go out, spread it out, go to different places. Oh, today we're here at Banana Island, a beautiful place. Have beautiful pictures, say beautiful things. That in your own way is helping us to spread the good news about Sierra Leone. If Sierra Leone is safe, if the position, if the news about Sierra Leone is positive, it will be what on other African countries. Take for instance, when we had the Ebola, do you know that people think that Sierra Leone has Ebola? It was the entire Africa. That is what Europe do. They blend the entire Africa. And that was what I was trying to talk when we had the brand Africa. If something should go wrong in one African country, it has the tendency to rub on the rest of the African continent. So the more we are positive in our messages, in our pictures, stop showing the fact that we have, I don't know, it was minister when I think we're in Ethiopia, and then the minister just said, hey, GM, look, they have flooding in France. And the Olympics is going on as we speak, but they have flooding in France. But did you hear anything negative coming? But look at our own flogger. I go to Facebook. Hey, this country, this and that. The way you people amplify it, you know, we have it. Yes, it's flooding. We're not the first country. France experienced flooding. Okay, Dubai. Look at Dubai recently. The country everybody is going. The country that is generating a product from Africa to go to Dubai. You know that Dubai now is generating wildlife to Dubai, from Africa to Dubai. They are taking all our beautiful cultures and they're transporting it to Dubai. Just because, and it's not there, it's not even authentic, but they are positioning themselves in a positive way. What we need from you is how you tell the story. Be positive, okay? Be positive, love your country, okay? We're not saying lie, but do it properly. Packaging. Now, packaging, everybody they do. We saw lots of packaging.
Minister, we just got this one.
Yes, and thank you so much, GM, for laying that point very bare. You know, it's really important for us to, you know, promote positive stories about Sierra Leone. Other countries, it was again reinforced when we were there in Zambia and Zimbabwe,
Yeah.
that not everywhere is perfect, but the people so understand the importance of tourism to the economic generation, revenue generation of their country, that they kind of inadvertently focus on their products and the tourism offerings that they have. And I know that we will get there eventually because tourism is basically new to everyone. But if you think about the opportunities within the tourism landscape, there's so many. We have chefs in the room. I'm sure we have people who are experts in handicrafts. We have people who are experts in painting, musicians, storytellers, so many photographers, so many different disciplines are related to tourism. But in terms of the packaging, how are we going to package Sierra Leone, apart from the fact that we're going to focus on the positives? What are we going to do? We can also visit our websites. The National Tourist Board has a website. I mean, whilst we're scrolling, we're going on TikTok, let's take some time to visit the website and learn about what Sierra Leone has to offer. Because even I myself, I'm learning every day. I don't know everywhere in the country. There are places that I've been taken to that I didn't realize, oh my goodness, is this in Sierra Leone? Beautiful. I was at
Long Beach a couple of in May, and I entered someone's facility there, and
they have a botanical garden right in the middle of Lumley Beach. It's unbelievable.
So go to the website, see what we have to offer, the islands, the wildlife, and Sierra Leone is one country that has everything, everything that other countries don't have. Because some countries would have, the wildlife, but they don't have beaches. Where we were, they don't have beaches at all, but they have
wildlife.
But Sierra Leone has wildlife. We can talk to our people to maintain the forest cover there. I'm sure in the next 2 years we'll have, an expanded version, a more of the wildlife that has been spotted already. We've got islands, beautiful islands. We've got
beaches.
We all know that we've got
the history. Sierra Leone in the transatlantic
slave trade is the authentic
aspect of that
history. We have beautiful people. So everything is there, but just visit the website so you would see how Sierra Leone as a destination is packaged. Speak to our tour operators. They know how to package. They know how to package, our destination based on the needs of some of the tourists. They have, and I'm learning too, they have what they call adventure tourism. They have backpackers. So they know how to package this very well to suit the needs of the traveler. We also have, we can visit the website, we can share the information so people can see a positive image and it wouldn't be about blood diamonds. And interestingly, we had a very long conversation about what we need to do as a country about the negative effect of blood diamonds, which seems to be still very fresh in the minds of so many people we engage with about Sierra Leone's tourism. And we're going to take a very unorthodox approach to see whether we can handle that. A couple of weeks ago, again, there was this article, I think, in social media.
Yeah.
We couldn't find the source. It states that Sierra Leone
is the least traveled country,
visited countries in the world.
Yeah.
Now, statistics are done based on the grouping. So we've been trying to find out the source of that particular article, and we haven't been able to find it. So we have given ourselves another week, and if we don't, we're going to put out a disclaimer to ask what were the parameters that were used to arrive at this particular conclusion. And this is what we want you also to do. It may look bad, but other places are worse, as we have seen in the past couple of weeks for our visits. But they tend to put, conceal that aspect. They put a cover on it, A screen is there, and we don't see it. We only see the beautiful part. So let's adopt that practice. It's something we can do. You walk through the streets of Freetown, what you tend to see is a historical city instead of looking at the plastic waste and stuff like that. Or if you see the plastic waste, how could we tell each other to pick that plastic waste and ensure that our travelers have a safe place? In the UK as well, most of the questions, we had a panel, an interview, and most of the questions were about safety and security. And it wasn't about, more or less about, just the health safety, but they were also looking at the security. And that was also discussed extensively at the CAF meeting. We were talking about tourism police, and we told them that in Sierra Leone, because we don't have a specific component that deals with tourism, policing for tourism, but we always activate, specific protocols when we have a need to. So during the Budapest rally, the IG was very gracious and very supportive to put his personnel at our disposal. And though there were few incidents, which normally happens, the police force who were there were able to handle it and recover some of the items. So these are some of the reforms that we're sharing with countries that are also constrained to apply, some of these measures. So yeah, that's all about the packaging. The packaging is there online, and it's with our tour of. I see Hello Sierra Leone here. Hello Sierra Leone is here. They also help to do the packaging to organize visits. And during the Tourism for All campaign as well, we've been encouraging people to visit. We've been opening up spaces, the museums, and several other spaces free of charge, holding hikes, free of charge, so people could go and visit and discover the beauty of Sierra Leone and package it out to the international media. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, guys. So this has been a wonderful experience, and I know your front pages will be very, very nice tomorrow. And to facilitate free movement in Africa, Sierra Leone just signed up to the SATM, the Single African Air Transport Market on Tuesday.
Woo!
So we're now member. This is going to also ease the movement from one country to another in Africa in support of the visa-free Africa. So thank you very much, and I hope to see you next time. We'll call you. And this is the month of partnership and promote. So we are looking for more partners.
Yes.
Partner with us and we'll
Promote
sustain
Tourism
tourism.
together.
Tourism business.
Now, all my
business.
Minister, we failed to mention the part where we took over the entire Zambia.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was expecting the PR to say something about that. Where is the PR? We took over the entire Africa. In fact, we won the dancing competition. Yes.
Yes, the
PR can
so that was the fun part. And there's a saying in Zambia: if it's not fun, it's
And
not
tourism. And tourism.
If
it ain't fun. If it's not fun, it ain't tourism.
So tourism also comes with some aspect of relaxation. So
We had that aspect as well. We made sure we infused that into our
programs,
and
the PR, who is also very good,
Apostle and PR.
is an apostle, and he's also very
adept at
drumming and singing and dancing. And Sierra Leone took center stage there.
Yes.
There you go.